you really should be doing that with each question. It does get you the answer for a lot of these pretty quickly, but still should be part of your learning process. Okay, so to undo the derivative of each of these pieces, I don't know, I feel uncomfortable with 5 over x squared unless I was to rewrite it as 5x to the negative 2. So I would personally make that change before I started to think of undoing the power rule. And so to undo the power rule, we say raise the power by 1. So negative 2 plus 1 becomes negative 1. Divide by the new power. And dividing by negative 1 is the same as that. That looks a little nicer. And then I should be able to test my work with the power rule. If I was to bring this down, it makes it a positive 5. If I lowered it by 1, it makes it a negative 2. So that piece is good. And then the thing I could take the derivative of to get a minus 1 would be a negative x. Okay, and I'm sure I'll talk about this more as we get closer to the AP test. But the single most common mistake where students lose points, by far the biggest mistake, it's what's called linkage errors. So linkage errors are when you say something like, this equals this, and that's not really true. You say things are equal when they're really not equal. It's okay to say they're equal as long as you still show that you need to evaluate from 5 to 8. But otherwise, you better not say that they're equal. Okay, so that's mostly what we did last week, except we would have tacked in a plus C. But now we're looking at different type of integration. So now we're going to evaluate from 5 to 8. So you should plug in 8 the first time. And I'm actually going to move this to the denominator. So plug in 8. Then plug in 5. And we should subtract those. Always subtract. So it looks like I got a negative 5/8 minus 8. This reduces to a negative 1. So if I distribute this minus, this becomes a plus 1, and this becomes a plus 5. I guess I'm close to being finished doing the whole thing by hand, so I want to kind of finish that way. This would be negative 7 plus 5 would be negative 2. And with common denominators, 2 could be written as 16/8. So negative 5/8 minus 16/8 would be negative 21/8. Okay, so I know that's right because I have an answer key to my WebAssign questions. But how you would want to check this, if this was a free response question and you had to show work, but you still wanted to know if this was right, or if it's multiple choice and you were given a calculator, then what you should do instead, or in addition to, alpha window, option 4 pulls up integration. We integrated from 5 to 8. 5 over x squared minus 1 dx. Okay, get some kind of decimal, but if I do math, enter, should change it to a fraction for me, and it better be negative 21/8. So of course if it's not, then we need to go and try to find our work, or find our error in there. So what I think is just a touch harder about this question, and of course you're allowed to have a difference of opinion, but I think rewriting this over x squared as x to the negative 2 is helpful, because that just helps me undo the power rule when it's not down there in the denominator. And so I would always do that given the chance.